Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k 8th edition reveal video. Today's video we'll be doing another faction focus, another Know Thy Enemy. We'll be looking at the Chaos Demons. So, in one of the previous reveals done by Games Workshop, they told us that no longer will Demon Factory lists be allowed. No longer can you just summon endless amounts of free points. You have to now set aside a certain amount of points from your total points allowance. If you're playing a 2,000 point game, you can set aside 500 or 1,000 points. And you can summon from that bank, but you cannot summon any more than the game limit. So no more free points. Obviously, Demon players were pretty upset, but they understood. I imagine many Demon players would have been annoyed because they were like, well, this is a really good, powerful strategy that we could use. That's been taken away from us. Massive nerf. But I imagine also that a lot of Demon players, whilst maybe a little bit disheartened at such a big nerf, understood. But what is in this faction focus? Okay. Well, let's start off talking about the different gods. They say Khorne is not going to be complex. It's going to be straightforward, choppy, killy. Tzeentch is going to be all about forbidden lore and learning. Slaanesh is going to be about speed and overindulgence. And Nurgle is, as always, going to be about plague and death by 1,000 cuts and being hard as nails. So, they go on to acknowledge that, you know, continuing on from the Demon Factory list, they go on to acknowledge that one of the original Death Stars, and yet still very potent Death Stars, is the Screamer Star with a rerollable 2+ save. For those of you that don't know what a Screamer Star is, currently in 7th edition, oh sweet child, please stay innocent forever. Unfortunately, I am now going to tell you what a Screamer Star is. I was there at the birth of Screamer Star. Not boasting and hopefully not showing my age, but I was literally there when Screamer Star was the first original Death Star in 6th edition. And I beat it. I've actually never lost a game versus Screamer Star, but with pure infantry, because I just shot the shit out of everything but the Screamer Star. But anyway, a Screamer Star is where you take a big unit of Screamers of Tzeentch, the little flying melter bomb little bastards. You stick in 3 or 4 heralds. You give the herald one of the heralds. Oh, and you take Fate Weaver. How it works is one of the heralds will have the Grimoire of True Names, and the other ones will be fishing for invisibility, essentially. So what happens is, at the beginning of your movement phase, you activate the Grimoire of True Names, and you do this every movement phase. On a 3, 4, 5, or 6, you increase your invuln save by 2. So Screamers of Tzeentch naturally have a 5+ save. It gets increased to a 3+ save. And then the basic Primaris power of the demons, I believe, of malefic powers is Earthblood, I believe, which again increases your demon save increases your invulnerable save if you're a demon by +1. So you've got 4 Psykers, all of which have got this ability to increase the invulnerable save by at least +1, and you have this relic that has a 66% chance of increasing your invulnerable save by +2. Now, when combined, that obviously means that you can very reliably every turn get +3 to invulnerable save, which means you'll be on a 2+ invuln save. And then you combine that with the special rule Demons of Tzeentch. And the special rule Demons of Tzeentch says you may re-roll all saving throws of a 1. So you've got a 2+ save, and you're allowed to re-roll all saving throws of a 1. Essentially a 2+ re-rollable. Now Fate Weaver comes into this, because Fate Weaver is like 2 Psykers mashed together. So again, more chances to fish for invisibility, more chances to get Earth Blood, I believe it is, or Scorched Earth, I'm not sure. But Fate Weaver also allows you, I believe, once per turn, or maybe twice per turn, you can re-roll any dice. You essentially change the fate of that dice. And what you do is, if you're using the Grimoire of True Names and you get a 1 or a 2, which means you wouldn't get a boosted invuln, you then use Fate Weaver's re-roll to go again. And I believe you can do that. I don't think you know if you can do that twice. I don't know. But I know that essentially it gives you like an 80% chance a turn of getting off the Grimoire of True Names and giving yourself a 2+ rerollable invulnerable save. And of course, invisibility means that people are hitting you on 6s. And as I think we've done the maths on this before, but essentially it comes down to you have to do 1,200 wounds to a... You have to fire 1,200 shots at an invisible unit with a 2+ rerollable save to do a single wound. Now, that's all gone. Now, I know that seems like a bit of a tangent there, but that explains how powerful demons are in 7th edition. Not only do you have the ability to just summon literally thousands of points of free units onto the field, you also had this ability to have the original Death Star 2+ rerollable save. Like, this thing was insane, and it's been around. It's like I said, it's the original Death Star. It's even a lot older than Beast Star, which doesn't even exist anymore. So that's all gone. That's what they had. That's what they've got until, say, 8th edition drops. When 8th edition finally drops, that's gone. So that's good, guys. What does that mean for the Guard? Obviously, it means no more invisible Death Stars. No more bullshit OP units like this. We will be now doing some proper warfare, so that's good. Another nail in the coffin for invisible Death Stars. So what are they getting instead? You can't just nerf a faction to oblivion. I wouldn't want demons to have all this shit taken off them and for them not to get something back. We all agree that. As Guard players, we know getting nerfed into the fucking ground getting nothing for years is bad. So we want the demon players to get something in return. We understand that. Well, now the Khorne demons get a special rule called Unstoppable Ferocity, which gives them a bonus attack and a bonus point of strength in combat if they charge or are charged. So very important. Basically, in the first round of combat, Khorne demons are going to be in a bloodlust. They're going to be chopping left, right and centre. I kind of hope that's a rule that gets passed on to Khorne Berserkers, but we don't know yet. That wasn't very clear in the Chaos Space Marines faction focus. They also say that the Bloodthirster will be the king of melee when he charges. Now, we haven't got any specifics on the Bloodthirster, but what that means, if he's going to be the king of melee, that means the #1 close combat unit will be a Bloodthirster. Currently, Bloodthirsters are a bit poo, right? They're just a bit shit. My Militant, I actually recently had a game with my Tempest of Scions facing off against a demon list, and I just killed a Bloodthirster in 1 round of shooting. Just 3 squads plus 3 Torx Primes equals 1 dead Bloodthirster. My opponent was shocked. So what that means, obviously Bloodthirsters are probably going to have more than 10 wounds. Remember that, guys. But what it means is Bloodthirsters should be able to be taking on things like the Avatar of Cain. They might even be taking on things like Robert Gurleyman. So what that means for Guard is try your best to not let a Bloodthirster get close to you. And in general, against Khorne armies, don't charge them. Shoot the shit out of them. Because if you charge them or you get charged by them, makes very little difference. Okay? Now, Tzeentch grants his minions the Ephemeral Form ability, which gives them a flat +1 to their invulnerable saves. That's kind of interesting. that could easily be stacked with other psychic powers and boosts. So I believe that demons will still have some way of getting like a 2+ or a 3+ invuln. They might have to work it out a little bit, but I think Tzeentch demons are going to be almost as resilient as Nurgle demons. Tzeentch demons will be easier to wound, but harder to actually take off the fucking field than a Nurgle demon. They point to the Lord of Change, a not often seen unit currently in 7th edition. Will have a 4+ invulnerable save and 16 wounds. Extrapolating that, we can imagine that the Berserker will have a minimum of 16 wounds as well, because the Lord of Change is pretty spindly. It's pretty flimsy in comparison to a Bloodthirster. So I imagine a Bloodthirster could have 18 wounds. That'd be pretty crazy. And they also, going on, they say that horrors will be able to bring down even the most powerful enemies with their psychic attacks. Now, we don't know what those psychic attacks are, but the article specifically states you will want Tzeentch demons to deal with tougher enemy units. So, keep those horrors away from your tanks, guys. Like we said, we don't know yet. We don't know how awesome they're going to be, but keep those horrors and keep those Tzeentch demons away from your tanks. Now, currently, pink horrors have a special rule called split, where every time one of them dies, they split into a blue horror, and every time a blue horror dies, they split into a brimstone horror, and essentially you have to do a fucking ridiculous number of wounds to actually fully remove what was originally a 10-man squad. Because 10 men splits into 10 pink horrors, 10 blue horrors. Sorry. 10 pink horrors splits into 20 blue horrors, and 20 blue horrors splits into 40 brimstone horrors. That's now still a thing, but split has been nerfed. So, like you have like when summoning, you have this bank of points that you can draw from. Those points are also used for splitting your demons. So let's say that you have a unit of pink horrors that costs 100 points, and a unit of blue horrors costs 100 points. What would happen is, and you're playing a 2,000 point game, and you've deployed 1,500 points, and you've got 500 points in the bank. What happens is, if you were to summon in a unit of pink horrors, that would cost you 100 points from your bank, so you'd only have 400 points left. If you wanted to then split, when your pink horrors started dying, if you wanted to then split them down into blue horrors, that would cost you an additional 100 points. Let's say it costs 100 points for unit of blue horrors. So that means your bank of points is now used for both summoning and for splitting your horrors. Really important to remember that. I hope that makes sense, guys. If not, I'll try and clarify it in another video, but hopefully that makes perfect sense. So it's looking like Khorne has got a pretty big buff, and it's looking like Tzeentch is going to remain very powerful. But what about Slaanesh? I think currently Slaanesh is considered to be one of the weakest demon factions out there. I think that's just a matter of fact. Slaanesh has always been about being super speedy in combat, but they're kind of a bit like Dark Eldar, because they're super speedy, but they can actually struggle to do damage. You know, they'll hit first, but a lot of the time they'll bounce off, and they're actually really, really like flimsy. Like, they're only toughness 3. So, you know, guardsmen with lasguns, they scythe down demonettes really quickly. So speed has always been a bit of a so-so thing to specialise in 40k. Dark Eldar kind of pull it off, but they pull it off by backing up with horrendous firepower. Demonettes and Slaaneshi demons have always been like, well, we're fast as shit, but like, we don't actually do a lot of damage. That is now going to change. Okay. Slaanesh has a special rule that means they always go first. Even if they didn't charge, they always go first. That's pretty important. Again, guys, I just don't see us charging demon armies, because if you charge a bloodletter, he's still gonna tear you apart. If you charge a demonette of Slaanesh, they're gonna go first and tear you apart. So that's a pretty good rule. It actually makes them quite a defensive unit, because your opponent might start charging up to your lines, and you put your demonettes out front, your opponent's going to want to think twice before charging them, because what's the fucking point in charging them? So it's quite a good defensive ability. That also means that if there's another unit out there which has always strike first, then it's probably going to be some sort of roll off to see who goes first, which would be quite interesting. Potentially demonettes are going to be interesting, like quite a defensive unit, maybe a counter-attack kind of unit. They also have rending, but new rending on their claws. So if you roll a 6 to wound, it's AP -4. So that means Terminators will go onto a 6+ save. Power Armor will not get a save against demonettes if you roll a 6 to wound. That's pretty good. So overall, what does that mean? Essentially, it means demonettes now have the damage output to back up their speed. Before, they could never really take advantage of it. Now they can. So hopefully we will start seeing some demonettes out there, some Slaaneshi demons out there, because you never see them. You sort of see bloodletters occasionally. You see a lot of horrors. You never see demonettes, and you see some Nurgle demons. We're getting on to Nurgle now. Now, Nurgle has always been about being tough as shit. But unfortunately, in this reveal, we don't really see if that's still going to be the case. Of all the things that they talk about, Games Workshop has decided to cover Nurglings for the Nurgle demon section of this reveal, which is interesting. Nurglings have always... No matter where you come from, no matter what army you come from, Nurglings have always had everyone's always got a bit of a soft spot for them, because they're just pudgy little balls of goo, basically. They're kind of funny, and they've got pretty cute, goofy little faces, and they're just a little comedy. I mean, they're a little bit of comedy, being thrown into the rather dark universe that is 40k. I believe people love Nurglings for sort of the same reason that people love orcs. They're kind of wacky, they're kind of cute, and it's basically like getting your ankles nibbled off by a bunch of obese, smelly children. So, we don't know if Nurgle's still going to be tough as shit, but I imagine, guys, we can take that for granted. Nurgle has always been about being durable, so I imagine we're still going to have that. Now, Nurglings have often been taken in the past as just attacks to fill up a troop choice. Games Workshop are now saying that you're going to want to take them thanks to their Mischief Maker special rule. This means that they're disgustingly resilient. Now, I don't know, I'm just trying to have a look at what this Mischief Maker means. Mischief Maker means that they can deploy near enemy models, quickly tying them up. Okay, interesting. From a guard point of view, be careful, guys, because like I said, there doesn't seem to be any restrictions on turn 1 charges. So you could find yourself, a clever demon player will take multiple small units of Nurglings and throw them up front, deploy them really close to your front lines, and try and get off some turn 1 charges. That would start really eating into your long-range shooting. Imagine if you've got 3 lines of guard. Imagine if the majority of your front line of guard gets tied up by Nurglings for the first round of combat. You can't do anything about it. If you have to pull back, then you don't get to shoot, and if you stay and try and bayonet them down, you don't get to shoot. That would be pretty devastating for guard. Also, the children of Nurgle have a rule called disgustingly resilient, which means they ignore wounds on a roll of 5 or 6. Now, I do not know. I believe that replaces Feel No Pain, guys. If that is true, then there is no more Feel No Pain. Take that in. No more Feel No Pain. For Guard, that's not a huge deal. The only units that we really had Feel No Pain were medics and command squads. It's a shame that we won't see medics, may not see medics anymore, because that might mean, you know, what's the point in having a med pack if it doesn't give you Feel No Pain? Maybe medics will do something else. But if Nurgle had been given a special rule for getting rid of Feel No Pain, then that means, for having Feel No Pain, then it potentially means there's not going to be Feel No Pain in the game anymore. Okay? Now, I imagine that this disgustingly resilient rule stacks with their invulnerable save. So I imagine Demon Nurgles will get a 5+ invuln save followed by a 5+ disgustingly resilient save, or resilience save, we'll just call it. So, overall, we've gone through the article. What does this mean for the demons? This is a long reveal, guys, but these reveals by Games Workshop have been really in-depth. Lots of content. What does it mean for Guard players? Number one, bayonet charging most demons is going to be a bad idea. Bloodletters are going to chop you up. Demonettes are going to chop you up. Tzeentch and Nurgle are going to be hard as nails to get off the field. So we're going to see demon armies be a mix of fast, hard-hitting, choppy units backed up by some really tough monsters out there, really tough units. So you're going to have this quite diverse mix, this quite big 50-50 split of durability, yet not a lot of damage output, followed by really fast and really choppy, but not very durable. And then Tzeentch are kind of in the middle. Tzeentch are going to be a fire support. So, bear that in mind, guys. Keep an eye out for those Nurglings. Just tying up your combat units. Try not to let Demonettes get close. Gun them down before they do. Try not to let Bloodletters gun them down. Tzeentch demons, be careful of your tanks. Overall, I'd like to know what you guys think the new demons are going to do. What kind of problems the new demons are going to present the Guard, and tell me what you guys think in general for these 8th edition reveals so far. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys next time.